Hey, thanks for joining us online today. We believe that Jesus wants to do so much through you and for you, and we'd love to hear about how he's working in your life. Please take a second to email your story to stories@rise-church.com. We hope this message leaves you feeling uplifted and encouraged. Enjoy.
Today, my message is very simple. Very, very simple. I want to teach on kindness. Now, raise your hand if you've never seen the movie Wonder. Raise your hand. I heard a lot of you laughing at some of the parts, and I know if you're laughing, that means you probably have never seen it. This movie is incredible. It came out in theaters a couple years back. We rented it when it came out on DVD. Some people told us we need to watch it, and I'm sitting there with my kids watching this movie. I got tears running down my face. I'm on the edge of my seat, and I just fell in love with this movie. I fell in love with just everything that it is trying to teach and present. We still reference this movie in our house because from time to time, my kids will have some interactions at school with other kids, or my kids will be the kids that aren't saying something nice to other kids here at church, and then a parent has to come to me, the pastor, and say, hey, your kids are jerks, and I'm just kidding. You've never done that before. But if you have a child anywhere from 6 years old to 50 years old, you should watch this movie with them, because I'm telling you, there are so many life lessons that we can pull from this. The way that we treat people, the way that we act towards people, the way that we speak to people, it's huge. You will never know. Listen to me. You will never know what a kind word will do to somebody else. It's like medicine for the soul, and it will encourage them like you would never understand. And then on the opposite side, you will never know what a discouraging or an unkind word will do to somebody else, how it will tear them down. And so today is all about kindness. It's one of my favorite words in the entire world. It's something we have adopted into our own family. When I drop my two older ones off at school every morning, because I'm the one that takes them to school, and before they get out of the car, I look at them and I say, we're Petersons, we are, and then they finish the sentence, kind. That's who we are. I want my kids to understand this. This is everything that you do. I don't care if you get straight C's in class. You better be kind, but you better not get C's either. So listen, I want you to be kind. I love this word, kind. And to really understand what this word means, we first have to start at the heart of God. And so I've got 3 points today that I want to share with you, and that doesn't happen very often. I don't always have points, so you know today's going to be a really good day. So if you're taking notes, go ahead and write this first point down. First, we have to receive God's kindness in our lives. If you want to be a kind person, if you want to be somebody that shows kindness to others in your life, you have to first receive the greatest kindness in the entire world. 10 o'clock, if you're with me, say yeah. Okay, half of you look asleep. I think it's this weather, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to yell at you a little louder than normal today. If you want to be kind, you got to first receive the greatest kindness ever. And that comes straight from the heart of God. 1 Corinthians 13 is known as the love chapter. You maybe have heard it read at a wedding. And 1 Corinthians 13 verse 4 says this, love is kind. And then all throughout the Bible, we read that God is love. And so if God is love and love is kind, then God is kind. That's just who he is. It's not that God just does kind things. It's who he is. It's his character. So he can't help it. He just is kind all the time. And here's the really cool part. This is why we call it the good news of Jesus. If you've ever been in a church and you walked out feeling worse about yourself, you didn't hear the good news of Jesus. Are you ready? Here's the good news of Jesus. His kindness is not based on your good behavior. God pours his kindness out on us at our worst. God loves us, and he gives us and shows us his kindness. We don't have to earn it. We could never deserve it. Come on, somebody, let's go. Matter of fact, Lamentations 3:22 in the Old Testament says it like this. Because of the Lord's great love, which is another way of saying kindness, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. So somebody needs to understand this morning. Can I set you free in Jesus' name right now? God's not mad at you. He's not angry with you. He is a kind God who loves you. Romans 4 or 2, 4, it's not up on the screen. Here it is, Romans 2, 4. God's kindness is intended to lead you to repentance. So this is what that means. If God's in this direction and you're not running after him, you're doing your own thing, running after sin, running after pleasures, whatever you want in this world, and you're going this way, it's actually his kindness that chases you down, grabs a hold of you, loves you, and says, I've got something better for you. Now, no, because that's the weakest applause I've ever heard. I grew up with a dad that was a little strict. Anybody got a dad like that? Anybody grateful for a dad like that? Some days, yeah. So my dad was really strict on me. I did not love Jesus. I was afraid of my dad, and so that's why I behaved and didn't get into trouble. I think sometimes we have that same view of God. Well, God, I'm not going to do this because if I do this and I get out of line and I go down that path, then you're going to get mad at me and you're going to get me. No. God is a good God who will chase you down with kindness, and it will be his kindness that actually makes you want to turn from your sin. So what that looks like is this: running after things that you think will satisfy, running after things that you think will fulfill you that are other than God, and then God comes and in his kindness, he looks at you and says, I've got something better for you. Don't stay in that. Turn and follow me. It's his kindness that makes us look and go, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. Actually, I want to follow you for the rest of my life. It's his kindness that changes everything in our lives. Some of you are still running from God because you think that he's angry with you, or you think that he doesn't want anything to do with you. No. He loves you. Stop running from him. Let his kindness wrap his arms around you and run to him and follow him with your life. I don't follow God because I'm scared of him. I follow God because he loves me, and I want to, you love me because I am jacked up. Some of you in here, you are so messed up that you don't think anybody wants to even have anything to do with you, let alone God. No, God loves you, and he's got a great plan for your life, and it's his kindness that wants to call you out of your junk. And it's his kindness that when you understand it, really, will make you want to follow him for the rest of your life. And when you've received his kindness, then and only then are you able to give it away to others, which is point number 2. We have to learn to give kindness away to others. I love the quote from the little girl. Her name's Summer. I love the quote that we ended on today. When given the choice between being right and being kind, choose kind. Now, I think down deep, all of us would say, yeah, man, I'm going to choose kind. But that is not how we live most days. Because I think most days, many of us in here today, I'm talking to you men, and I'm talking to all the stubborn women in the house. Come on, can I get an amen? Amen. You know who you are. Down deep, we want to be kind, but we also love being right. Because it just feels good. You just feel like, yeah, you're wrong, I'm right. What's up? It's like you're wrong, you're the Bulldogs, I'm right. No, too soon? Okay, that's all right. Another Florida State joke or something? No, okay. We'll move on. Listen, I don't know, there's just a sense of entitlement that we feel sometimes when we're able to prove our point and to be able to look at somebody else like, you're wrong, I'm right, my way was right, I told you so. For the first 7 years of my marriage, and I share this often, and so you're going to hear this all the time if you keep coming to our church, but it's so important because somebody needs to hear this. For the first 7 years of my marriage, I lived in a way where I chose being right over kind. And it was actually my choosing to be right, my pride that didn't want to admit that I was wrong, that wanted to prove my point, that whenever I would actually live that way, everything that I did was unkind. And it wrecked my marriage. And we got along. Things were good, but they weren't healthy in where they could be. And it was a change of heart that God had to do in my own life, where finally I was able to look at my wife and go, I don't care if I'm right. I don't care if I'm wrong 100% of the time. I just want to be kind to you, because what's the point of being right if I hurt you in the process? And so when given the choice, Rise Church, of being right or being kind, I pray that we choose kind every single time. And we let God take that kindness in us. And as we give it away to others, we let it see that it impacts them in a greater way than we'll ever understand. Say a kind word to somebody in your life today and watch them smile. Say a kind word to somebody that drives you crazy and watch their countenance change. They won't know how to combat that. They'll say something really mean to you and you come back with something kind and they're going to go, well, I don't know how to respond to that. Come on. When given the choice of being right and being kind, I pray that we choose kind. Ephesians 4:32 says it like this, simple. Come on. Be kind to one another. Well, who's one another? Like who counts as one another? Everybody. Especially the people that you live in your house with. Especially that teacher that drives you crazy. Especially that coworker that annoys you to no end. Be kind to one another. I didn't take my daughter. My wife took my daughter on a field trip this week with her school. They went to Sweet Pete's downtown. Anybody ever been to Sweet Pete's? I feel like I talk about Sweet Pete's often around here. I don't know if it's a we go or their school goes with field trips all the time, but Sweet Pete's downtown, it's a candy store. They also have a restaurant, but the field trip was for the candy store, and my wife went with her, and I know why my wife went with her, because she wanted some candy too, and they got chocolate, caramel apples and all kinds of other stuff, and it ain't cheap. It's great candy, but it ain't cheap. And so I picked my daughter up from school that day, and I say, hey, how was your field trip? Like, did you love it? Was it so much fun? Did you get some candy? She said, yeah, it was a lot of fun, but I lost my box of candy. And in that moment, I didn't show kindness to her, because I needed to step in as her parent and slash detective and figure out, why did you lose this box of candy that probably cost you about $7? Not you $7, it cost me $7. And she said, well, I had the candy and then I took it out and blah, blah. Where did you take it out? At what point did you take it out? Were you here? Were you in the bathroom? Were you there? Did we call your teacher? Come on, somebody, you know what I'm talking about? It's not even my candy. Like, it doesn't even belong to me. But I got to get to the bottom of this, because I got to prove my point of why you shouldn't have lost your candy. We couldn't get to the bottom of it, detective. The case is still open. We're not sure. I got my eye on one little second grader that might have stolen. I'm not sure. Scoping his house out tonight. Next day, I'm sitting in my office preparing for this sermon on kindness. And I felt like the Lord said, hey, Adam, you were not very kind to Naomi yesterday when she lost her candy. Matter of fact, you did the exact opposite of what I do for you all the time. Because you lose things, and you mess up, and you make mistakes, and you sin. And I never stop loving you, and I never stop showing you kindness, and I never stop giving you grace and things that you don't deserve. So I want you to go to Sweet Pete's, and I want you to buy her another box of candy today. I said, yeah, God, but they're $7 a piece. I don't think you realize that. And so I was going to go before school and get it myself, but I thought I might put the wrong candy in there, and then that'll blow up in my face, and then I won't handle that situation well either. And so I said, I'll just pick her up from school, and then we'll go to Sweet Pete's. So I picked her up, and I said, hey, sweetheart, I'm going to take you to Sweet Pete's and get you another box of candy. And her eyes just lit up and went and filled that box of candy and swiped that card and got it, and you would have thought that I gave her $1 million. Why? Did she deserve kindness? I mean, she lost her candy. She wasn't responsible with it. But that's not what we're called to be. We don't give away kindness because people deserve it. We give it away because God gave it away to us when we didn't deserve it. And so now we pour it out on every single person in our life. I wrote this down. No act of kindness, this actually isn't my quote, I found this online. No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. It's never wasted. I don't care what you do, it's impacting somebody in some way. Every year, the day after Thanksgiving, my family gets together. It's a tradition, my side of the family, and my dad and my mom take me and my brother and all my nieces and all my nieces. I don't have any nephews on that side of the family, and we go get our Christmas tree. And depending on what time of day we get the tree, we either eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And come on, somebody, my dad pays for the whole thing. Let's go. The Christmas tree, the dinner, everything. It's awesome. It's good. This year, the day after Thanksgiving, my brother and my sister-in-law were going to be out of town, and so we went the day before Thanksgiving, and I got my Christmas tree. And if you're judging me because you're like, you got your Christmas tree the day before Thanksgiving, heck yeah, I did. Decorated the whole thing. Come on, let's go. And we got it at night, and so we went out to dinner, and we picked Metro Diner. Come on, one of my favorites, and we went and we ate. And there was a bunch of us. I mean, we filled up the whole back area. I mean, there's a ton of us. And the waiter was doing an incredible job taking care of us. But when it came time to bring out the food, they brought everybody's meal to them except for my mom's. They had messed her order up. And how many of y'all would wait until they brought your mom's plate out before you started eating? That's just not how we roll. So we're all just like, sucker, this is so good. And so we started eating our food, and my mom just had us sitting there, waiting on her food. And finally, the guy brings it out, the waiter. And, in the past, I'm going to be honest with you, my dad, Jesus has changed his life. It's been a process, and Jesus is still changing him and all of us. But 5 years ago, if that would have happened, my dad would have let the waiter know a little something about why we're not very excited that our meal wasn't out, but Jesus has changed his life. And so now when the waiter brings the plate out, it's just a thank you. We appreciate it. Hey, and he's apologetic, but hey, it's not your fault. Like you're not the one that burned the burger in the back unless you dropped it off the plate when you were carrying it out here. Did you do that? No, okay, it's not your fault. So they bring it out and everything. And my dad and my mom, some of the most gracious people I know, were kind to the guy and then tipped him pretty well. Last Sunday at church, a lady that's been coming to our church for a while came up to me and said, Pastor, did your family eat at Metro Diner? I said, we did. You been stalking us? Like, what's that? How did you know? She said, my son waited on you. I said, oh, okay, cool. She said, yeah, I've been trying to get him to come to church, but he doesn't want anything to do with God right now. She said, but your family was super kind to him, and they tipped really good. I said, well, I can't take any credit for that. It was my dad, the whole thing, but yeah, awesome. Now, let me tell you something. What do you think that did for that young man that waited on us that right now doesn't want anything to do with God, but knew that a church person, her pastor, their family was at the restaurant and was gracious and kind to them, even though the order got messed up, and still tipped well? What do you think that did for him? What do you think that did for the mom that's been trying to get her son to come to this church? How do you think that made her feel about her church and her pastor? Hey, come on. Amen. Now let's flip it. What if we weren't kind and gracious? And what if we were acting like jerks? Hey, how'd you screw our order up and then didn't tip well? That would have pushed him further away from God. And that lady probably would not be coming back to our church. I believe that we have a worldwide epidemic of waiters and waitresses that want nothing to do with Jesus. Because Christian people who leave church on Sunday, go and eat at a restaurant, and are not kind and gracious and do not tip well. And we have servers that know what church people are because of how they dress. Now, maybe not y'all, because y'all dress like a bunch of bums, and so they wouldn't. Do these people come from church, or they just come from hunting, And that's just the women, you know what I mean? Like, let alone the men. We don't even. But how many waiters or waitresses want nothing to do with God because of Christians? How many of you have been a waiter or waitress before? How many of you can testify to that? Sometimes it's the Christians that are the worst. May that never be. Listen, you're going to go out to eat today? You're going to go somewhere where somebody serves you? Be generous. Be kind. Be forgiving. They mess your order up. Who cares? Like, it's coming. You're going to get your food. If you went to McDonald's, and they messed your order up, that's on you. You should know better. But we got to learn, we've received the kindness of God in our lives. We didn't deserve it. We got to give it away to other people that don't deserve it either. Last point is this. As a church, we want to show the kindness of Jesus to our community. And so let me talk about Rise Church for just a little bit. People say stuff all the time about our church. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. People write into our church all the time. Sometimes you write in, some of y'all, you've written in such encouraging things, like literally, I will print it and I will put it in my office to read it because it's that encouraging. Other times, not so much. We got one this week. I'd love to read it to you, but it is completely inappropriate. There's some wordage in there. They obviously don't like us. That's okay. But I pray one of the things that people will never be able to say about us is that we're not a kind church. And we're not a generous church. You're about to bless this Christmas about 40 to 50 families in this community. That's incredible. It's incredible. More families of people that actually attend our church also. You're going to be blessing them, helping them out this Christmas. Y'all are an incredible church. I love it. I took my kids to Sam's a couple months back on a Saturday around 4 o'clock. You ever been to Sam's? Sam's, you know, I'm not like Sam's Seafood, but like Sam's, like the big like store. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, okay. Y'all with me? Bro, you ever been to Sam's around 4 o'clock? It's incredible. Listen, my kids, we were home all day and they were just acting like a fool, man, like just going crazy. And my wife and I looked at each other like, I don't know what to do. Let's just take them to Sam's and just let them run around. Like we won't even watch them. We'll just let them do whatever they want. And so we go to Sam's at 4 o'clock and we had to get a couple things. And as we were walking around, we realized, oh my gosh, they got samples everywhere. It was like sample heaven, man. They had like fresh fruit. They had fresh fish and shrimp. They had like some tacos, some steak fajitas. Like it was awesome. And my kids, they were running around. They were like, Dad, can we get some samples? I was like, get whatever you want. Just stop acting crazy. My son would be like, Dad, I really liked that one. Can I get another one? I took my hat off. I said, yeah, put it on. They won't recognize you. Go get another one. Listen, if you're a little tight on money, you can take your kids to Sam's at 4 o'clock. You don't even have to buy dinner for them. Let's let them eat the samples. And we're walking around and we get to one of the samples. I don't remember what it was, but it was good. Like I liked it. My kids liked it. Rebecca liked it. And to find something that all of us like is like a Christmas miracle, you know, some days. Because you always got that one kid that doesn't like anything, just wants to eat cereal for dinner. Anybody got that kid, man? Just cereal. And I let him, I don't know. We liked it. And my son looked at me and was like, Dad, can we buy that? I was like, yeah, let's get it, man. That's awesome. We came for a few things. We had a list, but we ended up buying something we didn't even know we needed, something I didn't even know I wanted. But once I tasted it, I realized, yeah, I want this. I think there are some people in our community that don't know Jesus yet. And maybe they don't want anything to do with Jesus. But when they taste of him, when they experience the kindness of God through you, something that they didn't want, something they didn't even think they needed, all of a sudden, they're like, oh, that actually tastes really good. Wow, that's incredible. Psalms 34:8 says, taste and see that the Lord is good. When people experience the kindness of God, when they taste of it, that's when they say, yes, that's what I've been looking for my entire life. And God wants to use you, Rise Church, in this broken and hurting community, a community where people aren't always kind. I have a corner office right out on that intersection. Oh, you know what I hear all day? Honk, honk. People honk, just screaming at each other all the time. We live in an unkind society, specifically here on the west side. People just think that nice. For you to show the kindness of Jesus to people, they'll notice. And that's when they're going to say, I want what you have. Right. And it's not these big acts of kindness, it's the small acts. So I heard a story about a king, and he spoke to everybody in his kingdom, and he said, all right, everybody see this huge mountain right here? I'll give 100,000 gold coins to anybody that can move this mountain from here to over there. Some of the strongest guys in the kingdom said, I got this. And they went up to the mountain. They just started pushing it as hard as they could, and the mountain didn't move. Other guys tried it, and it didn't work. Finally, they said, hey, what if we all team up together? We'll split the gold coins. Let's move this mountain. So they all pushed together, and nothing happened. A little boy walks up to the mountain and just kind of stares at it all day, just stares at the mountain, and then goes home that night. He did this for a month. Every day would just come back and just stare at the mountain. Just stare at the mountain. Then finally one day he comes back and he's got a shovel in his hand, and he takes the shovel, grabs one small thing of dirt, and he moves it over to the other side. Everybody in the kingdom started laughing. What does this little boy think he's going to do? Move the mountain with that shovel? That's going to take him forever. And it did for years. Every day he would just go up and grab dirt and move it and move it and move it. And after a while, guess what that little boy did? He moved that mountain. Rise Church, there is a mountain in this community of brokenness, of depression, of people that are hurting and lost and don't know Jesus. And God has called us to move that mountain, not by big acts of kindness, but by small acts of kindness every single day.
Thanks for watching today. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram. If our church has had an impact on you and you'd like to support what Jesus is doing here, you can do so by going to rise-church.com/give and select the giving option that best suits you. Thanks for watching online, and have a great week.